So let's talk about operating in the private. Let's talk about the difference between public and private, because this is important. And so yeah, every natural man and woman is born in the private, whereas the state is public, and therefore its public servants and its legal fiction creations are in the public, including its artificial legal persons. Okay? That is your all caps name that we've talked about 1,000 times. A man or a woman can either live in the private or you can act in the public. However, we are trained from an early age to accept a higher authority as normal. Most people exist in a culture of submission and conformity, allowing numerous aspects of their lives to be controlled by the government. The populace is manipulated to become dependent, debt money, and conditioned to become fearful. Racism, Trump's a racist, that's racist. Terrorism, okay, like Antifa, the wars in Afghanistan, all that. The manner and appearance of authority is usually intimidating by design, while the language of legal fiction commerce, which is called legalese, is deceptive. You are indoctrinated to act in the role of an artificial legal person, which is a creation of the state and a debtor serving as surety for the corporate debt of your nation incorporated, United States Inc. Okay? Every nation with a central bank under the Bank for International Settlements has been indebted by the incorporation of its government into the debt money system, thereby surrendering its power of sovereign money issuance. So the Bank for International Settlements, that actually exists. Did you know that? So here's a little breakdown. We're not going to play the video, but here's the Bank for International Settlements right here. Okay, it's 45 central banks, privately owned. Here's the U.S. Federal Reserve right there. Deutsche Bank, which is about to go under. Swiss National. Okay, and then like you've got your credit unions and your private credit unions and stuff that are under the Federal Reserve. So here's the World Bank. Here's the IMF, International Monetary Fund. Okay. And then, you know, they've just got, just Google it. They've got a picture of it. There it is. Okay. Economic meltdown, collapse coming. You know. So it exists. And where's that one that says crime scene? That one's great. There it is. Bank for International Settlements. Right. There it is. Here's that one. There it is right here. Crime scene. Do not cross without appropriate equipment. For Bank of International Settlements. It's in Switzerland. So it exists. So anyway. Alright, before we leave, sorry, I found one more. Established May 17th, 1930. It's the world's oldest international financial organization. The head office is in Basel, with 2 representative offices in Hong Kong and, what do you know, Mexico City. Huh, that's strange. That's one in North America and one in Asia. Customers are central banks. Okay, they don't do private individuals or corporations, and their mission is to serve central banks in their pursuit of monetary stability, which means they want to control you, to foster international cooperation, which means they operate in contract, okay, and to act as a bank for central banks. Huh, who knew? All right, so there's the Bank of International Settlement. So back to this. So the bank is trying to make sure that we are all in debt to the government, and they have surrendered their power of sovereign money issuance to this bank and the Federal Reserve, which is privately owned. Global system of debt bondage has been established by incorporating governments. Okay, we all know they all capitalize. State of Utah, state of Michigan, state of Missouri, Department of Workforce Services, Office of Child Support, whatever. Those are all incorporated government entities, programming the people to act as the fictional roles of artificial persons, which is legal fictions having no innate productive capacity, are debtors by default, serving as transmitting utilities for human energy. Once again, I've been over this before. Governments produce nothing, okay? But they need customers, and they need taxes, and they need to rule you, okay? And they need to regulate and fine and penalize, okay? And they need a transmitting utility to do that, because that building can't do nothing to you unless unless they get your name and a social. So an artificial legal person is a dead entity. It is a legal fiction, persona, in the theater of commerce, and it is under a foreign admiralty maritime jurisdiction, the international law of the sea. On the contrary, you are born into your own sovereign estate of body, mind, and soul. As a sentient being, man or woman, you live within the sovereign common law jurisdiction, the natural law, the law of the land. The common law follows natural law, a living system of right or justice, held to be common to all humans and derived from nature rather than from the rules of society. In natural law, all people are born with equal and endowed with unalienable rights, unalienable rights, unalienable rights. You cannot lien my rights. You cannot regulate rights. You cannot code and statute and, ordinance my rights away. Your sovereign jurisdiction, including your inborn and unalienable rights, cannot be taken from you without your fully informed and willing consent. Legal person actors for incorporated governments, banks, and all corporate entities need to contract with other legal person actors entities to extract their commercial energy, right? Because they produce nothing. So they got to go out and get some actors. They got to go out and get some customers and extract their energy, which means your labor, which is taxes and the IRS and child support. These legal actors make the presumption that you are also acting in the role of a legal person in legal fiction commerce, which is why they are seeking a contract performance. They always want the name and often creation date of the legal person, right? So when you get stopped by a cop, what's the first thing he says? Give me your name and your date of birth, right? Because they are under the presumption that you are an actor and you are out in commerce and you are, the transmitting utility to this legal fiction. They need a person because there's absolutely no way they can contract directly with a living man or woman. They need a man or woman to consent to take responsibility in the matter of the person, unknowingly or knowingly, which is considered the word joinder. Okay? Might want to look that up too. In this way, a man or woman becomes a party to the action involving the person, which is joinder of the parties, into a single case in a legal fiction commerce. In legal fiction commerce. When a living name is mirrored by the registration of an artificial legal person on the birth certificate, an estate trust is formed, such as John Doe, okay, all caps. Any living man or woman unknowingly enjoined to such a legal fiction name blindly takes responsibility for the alleged debts of the trust as its trustee, whereas an aware living man or woman can separate themselves from the legal fiction name and become the rightful controlling agent, beneficiary, executor, executrix for Mr. John Doe Trust, which is what the secured party process is all about. And I've done that. I've taken control of my estate. Legal actors will attempt to engage the person by posting letters by phone or on the highway, name and birth date please, To make and enforce a contract. Misrepresenting a living man or woman as a fictional person causing unwitting joinder is the crime of personage, and is perpetuated by barratry, the crime of bringing false claims in court. Barratry is actually something that those lawyers do every time they walk into that courtroom. The term barratry appropriately comes from the Bar Association. What do you know? Under the common law jurisdiction law of the land, both parties must enter into every contract knowingly, voluntarily, and intentionally, or the contract is unenforceable and void. Okay? So, did you ask your child support agent if you are in contract with them because they provide a service, and may I please see the contract, please? If you do not wish to consent to their contract presentment, remember that word presentment, you must rebut the presumption that you are acting in the role of a fictional legal person. Okay? Maxim of law. Legality is not reality. The first step is to separate yourself from the legal fiction. If you answer to the artificial legal person name, you contract by joinder to become a liable debtor. However, if you stand truthfully as a man or a woman, not acting as an artificial legal person, the two are separated. And, that's something that you really, really got to pay attention to in court. Okay? Because of years of conditioning, it takes time to separate the legal fiction from reality in your mind and in the real world. A powerful and lawful approach is simply to verify everything. You are never obligated to answer questions or to provide government-issued ID. Truly, to uphold your government of the people, it is not your duty to answer questions. It is your duty to ask questions. You have the right to know who is making a claim against you, the right to know who is the injured party, the right to conditionally accept any claim against you upon verification, the right to reserve your rights without prejudice, and thereafter the right to remain silent to avoid self-incrimination. Boy, I'll tell you, that's like half of the Bill of Rights right there in one paragraph. By failing to exercise your rights, the people have been betrayed and have allowed their governance to be turned against them, so that the people have been monetized, securitized. Why is everything about that bond when you go to court, right? Bail bonds. You gotta put in a bond. You gotta bond out, right? That's what they're after, man. They're after the money. The original offices of de jure, unincorporated government institutions have been usurped and are mostly occupied by de jure public servants working for the people in a de jure public capacity. The public state has been captured by financial piracy and has become a commercial enterprise, operating by contract under Admiralty Maritime Jurisdiction in the international law of the sea. Okay? So please, once again, people, don't go in there screaming about your rights unless you've already done this. Unless you're doing that, you've remained silent and you've reserved your rights and all that, you don't have any rights, because you, by joinder, are a legal fiction. Following definitions apply to the de facto incorporated state in which the agencies of government and all artificial legal persons are merely corporate franchises, right? So what do you got? You got the government, they operate in public. You got you operate in private. This is created by the state. You are created by Jesus Christ, your Lord and Savior. Public servant, private sovereign. Okay? Private person, private citizen. Public servant, public employee. Okay? Acting in a public capacity, living in private capacity. This is a member of the public. You are part of the we of the people. These are legal fictions. These are lawful and facts. Private. To be in the private is to live in a private capacity as a man or woman with flesh, blood, arms and legs, conscious mind, a spirit, and a life. All men and women are created as equal sovereigns endowed with inalienable rights and properties, including credit equating to their valuable human energy. That's what they're after, man. You, as natural men and women, they are creditors. You are the, I was just going to say that, you are the creditor. Secured party creditor. Because they are born naturally with innate productive capacities, right? You're productive. That's what they want. They want your energy. They want your labor. Their right to contract is unlimited, and they have unlimited liability being responsible adults. They are outside and above the state. From Latin privatus, set apart, belonging to oneself, and not to the state. Public. What does public mean? To be in the public is to act in a public capacity as an accommodation party and joinder to an artificial person created and governed by the state. Is the state your mommy and daddy? All men and women who act in legal fiction roles for the state are granted revocable privileges, like your gun rights, like free speech, right? Like, you know, they could just tackle you and take you to jail and steal your car because you got a taillight out. Benefits prescribed by legislative acts. Okay, an artificial person, they are debtors because they are created legally, without innate productive capacities. Their right to contract is limited, and they have limited liability, being legally incompetent creatures of the state. It's legal children. They are inside and under the state. Publicus, of the people, of the state, done for the states. And next time, we'll get into public servants and what they're all about.